Celebrate, along with a companion book called Remember, Love, Celebrate. I wanted to let you know that this is being recorded because I want to be able to share it to others that may not have been able to make it this evening. So we are going to get started. And while I'm getting ready to pull up the PowerPoint slides, if you don't mind, in the chat, let me know where you're calling in from. All righty, here we go. Okay, if everyone can see my PowerPoint slides, please give me a thumbs up or say yes. Want to make sure you all can see. All right, awesome. So let's get this started. All right. So welcome to Healing Together, a joyful start to Let's Celebrate and Remember, Love, and Celebrate. Now, even though I know this is a tough subject for a lot of people, grief is not easy to talk about. But what I did was I wanted to create a children's book series where it's not just for children, but also for families to have those difficult conversations. Because there are times where you may know someone that may have passed on, or someone that you're close to have, and it's not easy to articulate how you feel. So we are going to get started with me. My name is Tasha Mason. I am an Army veteran. I served for 16 years in the U.S. Army, um, and author of A Child's Journey Through Grief series. And I'm recently retired. I actually served for the federal government for 11 years. I was a social worker for a couple of years at the Dallas VA hospital, as well as worked at the Department of Housing and Urban Development as a portfolio management specialist. So I had an opportunity to retire early and become a full-time author. In addition to that, when I was living in Fort Worth, Texas, I did some volunteer work at at a grief support center for children where my age group was between the ages of 5 and 8 years old that was dealing with grief. And that particular group was dealing with grief, the death of their parents. And it was various things that we did, activities that would help the children process. And one thing I would tell anybody, grief is not a sprint. It comes in waves and it takes time to heal, even if you get to a point of healing. In addition to volunteering at the Children's Group Center, I'm also currently an online facilitator for an adult grief support group. And in addition to that, I volunteer at church as well as beginning my writing career in 2020. And I'm saying all this because I'm letting you know that this project is very special to me because it is my story and any story of a child or even an adult that has dealt with dealing with loss and trying to figure out the best way to deal with grief. So, the heart behind the series. When I was 9 years old, my dad died, and it changed my world forever. And even though my mom was there to be there for me and to help me going through the grief process, there was a lot of times that was hard for me to articulate how I felt. And many of you may have gone through that, whether it's you yourself, if you've dealt with someone close to you that's passed on, or even trying to help a child in that process, which is why I wanted to make sure that I created a series to where you not only are able to identify with the family in the story, but also be able to have those tough conversations because it's not always easy to share those emotions. So I created this series to created for children and families who grieve, to help children and adults, like I said, have those difficult conversations, help children and adults talk about different emotions, to give children a voice because sometimes they don't know what to say. They may say, I'm angry, but not really sure about what they're angry about. Help caregivers and educators support grieving children through stories. And I'm going to talk about in a little bit how storytelling actually can help children that are grieving. Weave in hope, healing, and faith without denying the hard parts. And Jasmine, who is the main character in the story, is a reflection of every child who's ever lost someone that they loved. And each book moves through grief from saying goodbye to celebrating life. So, what happens when children are experiencing grief? And it comes in various ways because sometimes we look at it as sometimes children lash out, sometimes they stay quiet, and it goes a little bit further than that. Okay. So, confusion about death, and it depends on the age as well. There can be a struggle to understand what it means and if it's permanent. I know when I was a kid, like I said, I was 9 years old when my dad died. There was always this thing in the back of my head of wondering, what if it's all a joke? What if one day he comes back and say it was a joke? Is he really gone? Because you're trying to establish new norms without that person being there. Sadness and emotional withdrawal. Sometimes the child may feel isolated or may seem numb to things. And it's very interesting because with children, sometimes those emotions can kind of go back and forth. Sometimes they seem like they're okay, sometimes they're not. The same thing with us adults. Trying to be perfect, feeling the pressure to be the good child or stay strong. Now, I remember as a child, I had thoughts going through my head. What if I was good enough? Did I not say I love you enough? Why did he have to leave? And and as a kid, you're trying to process these various emotions and not quite understanding what is it? Why did he have to go? And especially when you have children that see other children with their parents. Because I remember there was a lot of times where I would see kids with their dad, and it was like, well, why isn't my dad here? I don't understand. Why couldn't he survive? Especially when hearing stories of people that have gone through accidents or had situations happen and they survived. Overprotectiveness of others, fear of losing more loved ones. That is a deep one for me because I'm the oldest of four girls. My youngest sister, LaRonda, who's on the call with me now, I always felt the need of being overprotective of her. And to say we both grew up together with my mom. And there's a little story here where when she was learning how to walk, I was trying to make sure she didn't fall. And I always had this sense of feeling like I needed to protect her. But it wasn't just with her. I felt that way about my mom. I felt that way about my friends, anybody that was close to me. And even though they were okay, there was a sense of what if I lose them? I don't want to lose them too. And not just as a kid, but as going into adolescence as well as into adulthood. And then there's other experiences as angry outbursts, crying, yelling, not really sure what they're feeling. They know they're upset, they know they're mad, and maybe in that moment something else has transpired, but at the same time, they're missing that person that's there. Difficulty focusing in school. Now, sometimes you may have kids that are stellar in school that have no problem with that, and some that may not do so well. In my particular case, my thought process was if I didn't have to think about it, I'm okay. So I would put all of my energy into work, into doing my work, being in the activities, which also helped as well, but I was also avoiding. And it also led into my adulthood the same way until I received some therapy to really help me process what I was feeling and what I was going through. And there's also suppressing feelings to protect adults. They don't want, if I don't want mom to feel sad. If I don't want her to know that I'm feeling sad, so I don't want her to be sad. So what can I do to be to make sure that she's okay? Which kind of goes back to the overprotectiveness. If I'm good enough, not overprotectiveness, I'm sorry, trying to be perfect. If I'm good enough, if I do everything right, they won't be sad, they won't be angry. And then there's the spiritual questions. Well, why did God take my dad? Why did God take my mom? Why did God take my grandma? Why did the other kids get to have them and not me? So when we look at this, we're looking at trying to identify what the child is going through and helping them get to a point of resilience. So, what is resilience? The process of handling stress and recovering from trauma or adversity. And there is a saying that, kids are very resilient. Kids can bounce back. And the thing is, what are we doing to help them bounce back? What are we helping them to go through the process of healing? So here are some tips when it comes to building resilience in children. Making connections, okay? It definitely can be a challenge if you're a caregiver and you're trying to process your grief as well, right? Making those connections. That can be in support groups, especially when you're in a group with other people that are going through the same thing that that child is going through or what you're going through. Helping others. Maybe do some volunteer work, maybe do something outside of yourself to be able to help others to kind of help through that process. Making a daily routine. Now, this is very important. Now, one of the things that I have stressed in the groups that I volunteer with online is trying to do something every day. It doesn't have to be a long list. You can make a short list. If getting out of bed is what you can do in that day, then that's a victory. Now, when it comes to kids, you want to make sure there is a routine, whether it's getting up at a certain time, washing your face, brushing your teeth, and make it as simple as possible and help them build on that and make them a part of that daily routine. Because what you're doing is you're not only establishing a new norm for yourself, you're establishing a new norm for the child as well. Take a break, whether it's going to the park, going to the movies, something that you all can do together to take that break and be okay with having those conversations. Well, how are you feeling today? Well, let's stop what you're doing right now. Let's sit down and talk. My mom did that a lot with me when I was younger. I did not like it, but I greatly appreciated when it later on. Self-care. It is very important for self-care. And it's not just for the child, but it's also for you as a caregiver, teacher, principal, any of you all that are dealing with a child, or even within yourself that is dealing with that. Self-care is very important and figuring out what that is, even if it means taking on a new hobby or reestablishing an old one. Move towards goals. If there's certain goals there that maybe, and it doesn't have to be elaborate, but just something really simple to build from to kind of help in that process, even if it's something that the child did with that person. Now, I would say for me, so my dad died on December 12th, 1986, a couple of weeks before Christmas. And as Christmas came on those years after, I didn't even want to celebrate Christmas. I put on a face like everything was fine, but I was very upset. Now, my dad, one of his favorite holidays was Christmas. And when I was able to finally be able to process everything, I'm at a point where I do enjoy celebrating Christmas again because it can definitely take a toll on you, especially if it's around the holidays too. Nurturing a positive self view. Um, I know for me, I dealt with self-esteem issues. Am I not good enough? My dad left me because this was the narrative that I put in my head. My dad left. He left me. Something must have been wrong with me. So even though my mom was there, that was talking to me in positive ways and giving me affirmations and everything, it wasn't enough because he wasn't there too. So even though I appreciated her saying those things, at the same time, I was like, well, why isn't my dad here? Why isn't he here to help me? Keeping things in a perspective and maintaining a hopeful outlook. That can be very challenging, especially when you're going through the initial stages of grief, because it seems like everything is hopeless. Things just doesn't make sense. And trying to figure out ways to put a smile on your face, even if it means thinking of a past memory or a story. Opportunities for self-discovery. Maybe looking at a new hobby, or like I said, reestablishing an old one and accepting change. That right there for me was very challenging to accept that change that I will never see my dad again. So there are positive coping skills that can definitely help, that child that is going through grief and also help you as well if you're going through it. Being honest when answering questions about death. It's okay to say, I don't know. It's okay to say that. Sometimes we get into this in this space as adults where we feel like we have to have the answers for everything. And this is so delicate. We really don't know. We really don't know. Now answer what you can, and of course age appropriate. But if you don't know, it's okay to say that. Reassurance, validation, and listening. When you or anyone, whether you're adult or a child, is going through something, you want to be reassured that what you're feeling is normal, right? Okay, I'm feeling sad right now. I'm feeling angry at this. It doesn't make sense. Well, okay, I understand that. Okay, it's okay to have this feeling. I remember I used to hear some people say bad emotions. I do not believe there's any such thing as bad emotions at all. We are human. We have emotions. We experience things. It depends on how we respond to them. But when it comes to emotions, it's okay. All emotions are good. Continuing emotional support and encouragement. Because as I said before, grief comes in waves. And sometimes you feel like, hey, everything is going good. And then all of a sudden, you're back at day one. It feels like you just started all over again. And so having that continued emotional support and encouragement is very important. Therapy. Now, there's different types of therapy. There's individual therapy, there's family therapy, there's support groups, equine assistant therapy. Now, if you don't know what equine assistant therapy is, it's basically therapy with horses. And when I was a kid, and I did not know this at the time, but there was a friend of my mom's who was an engineer, and he had his own ranch and he had horses. He taught me how to ride horses. I learned how to barrel race. I learned how to take care of horses. So I was able to be in that space, in that world, and it actually helped me along the way with how understanding that animals can help with the grieving process. Storytelling. And then a little bit, we'll talk about how storytelling actually helps with grieving as well. Journaling, putting your thoughts down on paper. Now, I wasn't the type of person that was used to putting down my thoughts on paper. If I thought about it, that's just how I felt. And that's just how I did. But
Recording in
a
progress.
lot of people were actually that benefit from journaling. Sometimes they write a letter to themselves. They may write a letter to God. They may write a letter to the person that passed on. Things that kind of help them in that process. Drawing. Now, this, as a kid, I love drawing. I felt like I was in a euphoric space when I drew. Whether I was having a good day or a bad day, I was able to sit down and just be in my own space. No one else was there but me. And even to this day, from time to time, I still have the tendency of drawing. Creating a photo album. Now, I know we're in the digital age and we have digital albums, but sometimes it's okay to take it back to creating a photo album where you cut out pictures and actually have a physical photo album to put pictures in. And this is a time to have family time where you can share stories and maybe talk about what happened in those pictures. Sharing stories. I mean, you may find a story that what that person did was so funny, or even if it's sad, but you're able to share stories about that person. Some people may take it actually takes time for them to get to the point of sharing stories, and that's okay too. And this is where you can help the child establish some boundaries. If they're not ready to talk about that person just yet, let them know that it's okay. You know, because they may be still trying to process what is happening and everything, but you can ease into it. Looking at photos, looking at videos. And the thing that I find the most important is sometimes you got to sit in silence. And sometimes it feels weird, it feels awkward because you want to say something. That person might just want you to be there. And they're just trying to get out those emotions. They don't want you to fix anything. They just want your presence, which is very important. So here's some things that I've learned and even dealt with myself, what to say and what not to say to a grieving child or even to a grieving adult. Don't say be strong, okay? Because then that makes that person feel that their feelings are invalidated. Instead, say, Well, you know what? It's okay to feel sad. I'm sorry that you're feeling this way. Don't say don't cry. Again, that invalidates those feelings. Now, even though you may feel uncomfortable if you are, don't make the child feel uncomfortable for crying. You can respond with, I see that you're hurting, and that's okay. Do you want to talk about it? And if they say no, you can just sit there. And if they do, help them articulate what's going on. At least they're in a better place. This is one of the phrases that actually I did not like at all, and I still don't like saying it to this very day. At least they're in a better place because even though um, you may feel that, they're in heaven, if that's what you believe in, the thing is, they're thinking about, well, what's a better place than being here with me? That's not fair. Why do they have to be in a better place? So instead, you can say, I know you miss them so much. And this is about showing that compassion, ignoring the loss. Now that can be also detrimental because the thing is you're ignoring their feelings and you're trying to rush the process. And there is no rush when it comes to grief. So instead, ask them, do you want to tell me something that you remembered about them? What was something that they did that made you laugh or something that maybe angered you? But it's something that to help them to really be able to express how they're feeling and talk about their person if they're ready. Rushing the grief. There have been in the groups that I volunteer for, I've heard some adults say that they were told, well, it's been 5 years, it's been 10 years, it's been 15 years. You should be over it by now. Well, the thing is about grief, when it's someone you love, you don't fully get over it. You're able to process it and try to move forward without that person, but it's not that you don't miss them. You still may have your moments of tears. You may be driving down the road one day and you hear a song on the radio or watching TV. You may hear something, or someone that you're talking to may have said a phrase or something they wore that can actually trigger you into, maybe you start crying and start feeling sad again. Because, like I said, this comes in waves. You may feel like it's day one, and then you may feel like it's year 20, but it still comes back and it can affect you. And even though I was 9 years old, I'm 48 years old now, and it still affects me. Not the same way that it did before, but in this point, I will sit in it and okay, I'm feeling these emotions. Let me go ahead and deal with it, and figure out ways to kind of help when it comes to coping. Replacing the loss too quickly. So this can be whether it's dealing with the loss of a pet, or a parent, a relative, or anything like that. Well, we'll do something else, or we'll get another pet, or something like that, or you can find another friend. Things like that does not help the situation. You can say, no one can take the place in your heart, because it also validates them and reassures them that you acknowledge how they're feeling. Overloading them with adult responsibilities and things to the point of not saying that they can't do chores or different things like that, because they may feel like they're responsible for you. And what you don't want is that child to feel like they have to take on adult responsibilities. It's not, and you can say, it's not your job to take care of everyone. And so when you get to that point of understanding that, and the child is looking at you, and also I'm going to say it's okay if you show them that you're sad too, because children need to see that. If you're feeling upset because mommy or daddy or whoever has passed on, that gives them a place of, okay, they understand, they see where I'm coming from. So the power of storytelling. And this is where I've seen various books about children's books about grief. Um, I wanted to make sure that with this, to show how powerful storytelling can be to help children identify. What happens is with storytelling, it creates a safe and emotional distance. What it does, it allows children to explore tough topics like grief through the eyes of the characters. So what I did with this series, I wrote it from the perspective of Jazmine, who is the main character in the story. She's 9 years old and her father has died. So I made sure I wrote it so you can hear it from her perspective. She's telling you what she's feeling and what's going on around her. Help children process big emotions. Storytelling gives structure to feelings that may otherwise feel chaotic and a bit confusing. So, for children to be able to identify with this young girl that is dealing with the death of her father. It also helps build empathy and connection. So even if the child has not dealt with a death, maybe that child has a friend or someone at school that they found out, hey, someone they love had passed away. Reading books like these can help bring empathy and connection. And also show the children that they're not alone in their experiences and helping them feel understood and supported. It also gives children the word that they need. Sometimes they can't figure out exactly what it is they're feeling, but reading books like these can help. Yes, that's how I'm feeling. What she said right there, that I can definitely understand that. It makes healing feel possible because sometimes it's kind of weird when you're going in this space and you're not feeling joy or you always feel like you're sad, but understanding that, okay, even though this is a process, I can feel joy again. I can feel growth. I can, there is resilience in this. In addition, it opens up the conversation with adults. So this also helps, even when the adult is going through grief, that they can identify with the mom in the story as well as Jazmine, and they can read the stories together and share a shared space for discussion between children and caregivers. A friend of mine that purchased one of the books told me that he was able to have a conversation between him and his children when it came to talk about death, especially when they had a close one that died. Honoring the memory of loved ones. Now, in the book, and when I'll get to talking about the books, you'll find out about a non-traditional way to memorialize someone. But this is a way to identify, hey, look, there's more than one way to memorialize and remember a loved one. Encourage creative expression. And this is whether you're drawing, whether you're coloring, journaling, and storytelling invites children to tell their own stories through words and art. Turning pain into purpose. Personal stories model for children that even from grief, something beautiful can grow. And even though it doesn't seem like in that moment, it can. So, A Child's Journey Through Grief series. And these are all the books, but I don't want to say goodbye. It's okay to be happy. Let's celebrate, which is the new book, and the companion book, which is a activity and coloring book called Remember, Love, Celebrate. But I don't want to say goodbye. Now, this one I have to tell you, this was a challenge for me to write because initially when I wanted to write children's book, the thought never crossed my mind to write about grief. And when the idea came, I had to touch back into 9-year-old Tashay when she found out that her dad had died. And it took me a time to really process and figure out how I wanted to craft this story. So in this book, you're introduced to the mom, to Jazmine. Actually, in the book, if you decide to read it, or for those that already read it, knows I do not mention Jazmine's name. I want the readers to identify with her before I even mention her name. Also, in the book, the mom is preparing for the funeral. So, and like I said, it was a non-traditional funeral. So what do I mean by non-traditional? Typically, we know about, funerals that their casket, cremation, right? So when I wrote this story, I was trying to figure out, I don't want to talk about the casket because I didn't like seeing my dad in a casket. That is the last image of him that I saw. And I wish there was another way that I could, have that memory in my mind. So what I did, I reached out to an organization called Eternal Reefs, and they create reef balls. And this is a small replica of it right here. It's a lot bigger than this, okay? So what they do is they take the loved one's cremated ashes and they put it in the top here. And you can put in, the children can put their handprints in it, put seashells in it, and different things like that. And when it dries, they lift up the reef ball and they put it in the water along the coral reef. So you're looking at it as an eco-friendly type way to memorialize someone, and you're helping the environment. And I thought that was wonderful. And I actually had an opportunity to go and witness this as a 4-day process. So I thought about that. I said, yeah, I want to use that in the story. So I reached out to the CEO of Eternal Reefs, and he had no problem with me doing that, gave me permission, and got an opportunity to meet the staff and everything. And it was a great experience. So in this book, Jazmine is dealing with her emotions while they're getting ready to for this funeral. So she's trying to figure out how can she say goodbye because she doesn't want to. And when we have a loved one that passed on, of course we don't want to say goodbye. We want them to stay around forever. The second book, It's Okay to Be Happy. Now this is after the funeral. So the idea came for this because initially I was just going to write the first book, and then I thought about it. And usually, you wonder about what happens to the family after the funeral. They don't just go back to normal. There's a new normal that they're trying to establish. So yes, the funeral is over. Now everything is coming to a head. We got to go back to work, go back to school. How is this working? So in this book, I touched on group support therapy for children because you want children to be in a safe space with other kids that have experienced what they've gone through and to be able to share those emotions. So Jazmine actually gets to meet other children that are going through a similar grief process, and she gets to learn about she's not the only one. But of course, she's still feeling sad and angry because she's seeing other kids with their dads and wondering why can't she have hers. And also in the story, they create a photo album. As you can see here, her and her mom are creating a photo album, taking it old school, cutting out pictures and putting it in the photo album. And then you see Jazmine is petting a horse, and the horse in the story name is Star. And the horse that I learned to ride on as a kid was named Star. So I thought that was very interesting to put that in there. And one character that I failed to mention in all of these books is Bella. And those that know me, I have an old English bulldog named Bella, and I decided to put her in the story as well. So you will see her throughout the story. And now the new book, Let's Celebrate. This is about moving forward. You're not you're not with getting over it, but you're moving forward. It still deals with various emotions, and it also brings in celebrating events and being able to participate in things that now you have to do without that person. So Jazmine is getting ready for her first ballet recital without her dad. So she's feeling uneasy. She's not sure she wants to do it. So she has her mom and Aunt Rhonda to come along to kind of help her get into that space of, you know what, it's okay. I know you're feeling sad. If your dad was here, he'd be very proud of you. So going through that process. So there is a moment where they come in, they're having their time in the car, they and also getting ready for her birthday party. She's getting ready to turn 10. She doesn't want to celebrate her birthday because her dad is not there. So even though she has other people in her life, that missing piece, which is very important piece, but she's not sure if she can really celebrate anything because how can I? Because my dad is not here. So I wanted to make sure that, the reader understood, hey, look, there are going to be times in your life where you're going to be thinking about something that's happened, an event that's taken place, and you think about that person is gone. And whether it's in childhood, adolescence, you're looking at the different stages of life, right? So in adolescence, you have, if you're playing sports, if you're in different activities in high school, getting good grades on your report card, you're wishing that person was there. Graduating from high school, going to college if you want to go to college, work, anything like that, those different milestones, you're still wishing that person was there, and you may feel a sense of sadness. So this book is to help identify, hey, yeah, this is happening, but you can still find joy and you can still celebrate. So the companion book for the entire series is called Remember, Love, Celebrate. It's an activity coloring book that has different activities in it, not just in the book itself that you can actually do outside of the book. And there's pages for journaling. And I also added some biblical scriptures that helps with comforting. I feel that it's very important that sometimes you may not have the words and you're trying to find comfort. There's some biblical scriptures that kind of go along with it. So as you can see, there is some of the pages from the book here. How are you feeling today? When you go in a doctor's office and you see that big chart or poster that says, how are you feeling? And you have the different faces of how you're feeling. Well, I wanted to do that in the way for this book and help children identify how they are feeling. And there's various emotions. So even though you see this in black and white in the book, I also have it, which you're going to see in a little bit, as a poster as well that they can have in their room. And I also created an emotional maze, which is the next page. You're going through Jazmine, you're helping Jazmine go through this emotional maze. And as she gets to each circle, there is an emotion there and a comforting scripture that goes along with it. The next one is a memory jar. I thought this was interesting because you can do it, and the way I did it, you can do it on the page, which you can draw in pictures, you can write words in, but you can also create a memory jar outside of it. So there's instructions on that as well. And then there's coloring pages. As you can see, there's one with Jazmine and the horse star. So there are pages where the child can color, and then there's journaling pages as well. So why am I launching this campaign? To help amplify the voices of grieving children who often feel unheard and unseen. And sometimes, and a lot of times it's misunderstood because sometimes when they're reacting a certain way, some people may feel like, oh, they're just being bad. Well, no, it may be grief and trying to understand and be able to give them a voice to help them articulate what it is they're actually feeling. To provide accessible tools and resources that help families navigate childhood grief together. And also, if you support this Kickstarter campaign, it's going to go towards the printing and distribution of Remember, Celebrate, Love, and Let's Celebrate. And also to make Jazmine's story reach more children and showing them they are not alone. And to honor the memory of those we lost by helping others, because grief doesn't end after the funeral. And children and families are going to need ongoing support. So how you can help? Backing this campaign, and the campaign, which started today, this morning, is for 30 days and ends on August 14th. Every dollar helps bring this story to life. Pre-order the books. So this is an exclusive. So the book actually does not release until November 8th. And the reason why I chose November, it's because it's Child Grief Awareness Month. Okay. And I'll give you a resource that you can check into that. But I felt that it was very important to release it on that day. But I wanted to do it early for those that want to go ahead and get the books early. And I look forward to the feedback. To actually be able to spread the word, share this campaign with friends, family, teachers, counselors, support groups, libraries, anyone that you feel like they may can benefit from this. And you can follow and engage with me on social media and spread awareness about childhood grief. Leave a comment on the campaign page. Your encouragement fuels the mission and belief in the mission, because your support helps children heal through story, art, and connection. So these are the different rewards that you get if you contribute. So I have a few that I have. So Let's Celebrate is in the printing process. So I don't have that copy, but but I do have a copy of, but I don't want to say goodbye. And it's okay to celebrate. So if you choose, if you want to get Let's Celebrate by itself, you can do that. If you want to get the whole collection, you can get that as well. In hard copy, you'll get an autograph copy from me. You can also get the electronic books as well. Also, Remember, Love, Celebrate you'll get that as a reward. That's also coming out November 8th too, so you're getting an exclusive. The poster that I showed you a while ago, how are you feeling poster? You can put this up on the wall. The child can have it. It's 11 by 17 inches. If you would like for it to be bigger, you're gonna have to wait till after the campaign and reach out to me, and we'll work on getting a bigger print. You'll get a digital thank you card from me, personalized. And then also, as you can see, there is a heart-shaped locket. Now, I got this because this is in the story. In the story, Jazmine receives a heart-shaped locket necklace from her father. And I thought this was very great to go with the story. And as you can see, you will also receive a hand knitted Jazmine doll. And this is created by a wonderful woman named Nita in Australia. So she's hand knitted each one of them. Very beautiful. And this is part of the rewards. And what I want to do right here, show you. This is the list of rewards. In a minute, I'm going to show you how it looks on the Kickstarter campaign page. So, like I said, every dollar amount helps. So if you contribute $10, you get a personalized digital thank you card from me. If you contribute $15, a digital bundle, which is the ebook. The full digital bundle is all the ebooks. Let's Celebrate bundle is the hard copy, the ebook, along with a thank you card. And today, well, for 24 hours, the Let's Celebrate launch day special. And I will show you what all that includes. And then there's a $50 contribution. Let's Celebrate gift one, get one, gift one. And if you notice this barcode up here in the top right-hand corner, you can scan that and go directly to the Kickstarter website if you're interested. And it'll go directly to my page. The Jazmine's Journal Bundle, which is $75. The collector set, $150, and 2 sets of the collector set if you want to give to someone else. So this is what the Kickstarter campaign page looks like. The goal is $2,000, and I'm going to show you how it looks in entirely. Let's see here. Okay, so don't worry about this left side of the page because that is for my, because I'm in my own account. But what you'll get when you open the page, you'll see the Let's Celebrate book, and there's a video with a message for me on here. And you can scroll down and read the story. You can read about Jazmine's grief journey. Creativity, the Remember, Love, Celebrate, information about the book, and it's a 40-page book. The whole series, the inspiration behind the series, why this campaign matters, the timeline. So if you decide to contribute, now, like I said, this campaign lasts for 30 days. Once the 30 days is over, you can no longer contribute, and then you will be charged for the contribution. And then it'll take about a month. I'm giving it about a month and a half for me to get the rewards to you. So once August 13th is up, I will start sending out the rewards. And so to get a closer look of what it looks like, the hard book cover of Let's Celebrate is 8.5 by 8.5 inch, along with, and then you have the ebook here. The heart-shaped locket that I just showed you, it is rose gold plated, and it has a nice chain to go along with it. Remember, Love, Celebrate, which is 8.5 inch by 11 inch soft cover. And then the How Are You Feeling Today poster, which is 11 by 17 inches. And if you're interested in the other books, you'll get the hardcover 8 by 8, 8.5 inch by 8.5 inch hardcover with the ebook. It depends on which one you contribute to. And then there's information about me. Now, when it comes to, okay, where do you want to contribute? Over here on the right-hand side, you can make a pledge, even if it's just $1. Maybe you say, you know what, I don't want anything. I just want to contribute to the campaign. You can do that too. And you can look and see each of the awards here. And like I said, for 24 hours, this particular launch day special, $40, which includes the hard book, the hardcover, the locket, the ebook, and the How You're Feeling poster. And as you scroll down, you see each of the different reward tiers here. And let's go back here. If you want to donate a book, that is, if you want me to donate a book to a special person in your life or an organization, I can do that. Or if you decide to get the get one gift one, you can do that yourself. So either way, this we can get the books to those that need it. Now, if you want to get the donate a book or series, go under add-ons in the rewards tier, and you can click on an add-on, and it'll show you how much it is additionally. And keep in mind, it is limited, so there's only so many books on the site. Resources. So remember when I told you about November being Child Grief Awareness Month? Well, I got that information from the National Alliance of Children's Grief. This is a wonderful website for anyone that has a child that's dealing with grief. They have plenty of resources. They do have some support groups that maybe locally for you. You can check into that website, and they have different types of training, different types of seminars. It is a great resource to go into. Also, check your local support groups. There may be some in the area. If you cannot find any in the area, there are online support groups that you can check out. You may have to Google and see, but check with the National Alliance for Children's Grief because they have a lot of great resources on there. And if you were interested in hearing more about the reef ball that I mentioned from the first book, eternalreefs.com. They have wonderful information about it and give you a little bit more insight into their creative process. And how to contact me. You can go to my website, bellshaehouse.com, or you can email me directly at tashay@bellshaehousebks.com. You can follow me on Facebook. I have two Facebook pages, which I'm working on merging into one, but for now, you can reach out to me, Tashay Mason Author or Shay Mason, on Instagram, bellshae_house or Tashay_Mason. And I have a YouTube channel, which I'm working on building up. And I'm available for author visits as well as collaborations if you want to reach out to me. And I want to thank you all so much for taking the time to be here and sharing this experience with me. I would like to know if you have any questions or any comments. I'm looking in the comments now. I'm sorry I didn't see it earlier. I was going through the slides here. Um, Thank you, Mark, for posting the link and everything like that. Love you guys too. Does anyone have any questions? Or I'm going to unmute if you want to have a comment. Thank you, Tanya. I appreciate it so much. If you want to raise your hand, anything like that. Thank you. Well, thank you so much for your time. Will I be doing this overview again? Actually, I'm recording it and I'm streaming it live on Facebook. So if you missed the beginning of it, you can check it out on there. What I may do, I will do a short iteration. I'll do some videos on to put on social media to talk a little bit more about it and maybe split up the call and maybe do some editing to put on there as well. Thank you so much for everyone. And then, like I said, if you have any additional questions, if you want to share with others, please reach out to me. If you want to speak with me directly, send me an email. I can get on a call with you. I can do a Zoom call. We can get on the phone. We can talk. I have no problem speaking with you all. I thank you so much for your time. I look forward if you're interested in supporting this project. Thank you so much. And please share. And you all have a wonderful evening. Take care, everyone. Bye.